Good morning. Today is a Saturday morning for me, and I thought I would bring you guys along for another yarn dyeing vlog. I haven't done one in a while, and I am dyeing Monet water lilies this morning on both fingering weight, which I've done before. I have the sock sets, but then I have a request to do it on a worsted or a DK weight merino. So yeah, so we're gonna try that today too, and I will put those up in the shop sometime this week. Yeah, so let's dye some yarn. As you guys know, I dye yarn in my garage, and my husband has set up a little shelf here for all my yarn dye, and what you guys are sitting on is actually a countertop that he built me. He put legs on a countertop, and so I have a sink that I hook the hose up to, and yeah, fairly nice, except for when it's cold. It's not too bad today. So I have 3 pans that I will dye in today, and so at max I can do, depending on the colorway, either 12 or 15, so either 4 or 5 skeins per pot. So this colorway has multiple steps. So for all of them, I soak my yarn first, and then for this particular colorway, I do a yarn bath, and I do a tonal blue, and then I take the excess water out of the pots, and I do speckles of like a purpley color as well as a green. Yeah, trying to get the lily pads and the flowers, and the blue, of course, the water. So it is a very fun colorway, but does have many steps. So let's do it. So what I've done is I've gotten water in my pots, and I've turned on my burners. I use induction burners because I can control the temperature like exactly, which is very helpful. And then I put the dye in each pot and mixed it up some, and now I wait for a little bit. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I have a little like a tea kettle here that I use to make solutions, especially when I'm pouring over, because the hot water helps the dye powder disintegrate into the water. But when I'm doing a big bath, sometimes I'll just put, and I have time, I'll put the dye powder into the big bath and heat them up and give them plenty of time for it to dissolve into the water, and stir it a few times to make sure it is all dissolved before I put my yarn in. And the next thing I need to do is also add some acid to it, because this is a protein fiber and we use acid dyes for it. And by acid, it's not as scary as it sounds. I just use vinegar. You can also use citric acid, which comes in like crystals. I currently use vinegar. It is a little more gentle on the yarn. Yeah, and that just helps the dye to actually adhere well to your yarn, and then yeah, so it doesn't just come out in the wash. Alright, so I have taken out the water, the extra water, and to make a shallow amount of water in the pan, and then put my skeins back in. And now I am speckling the green and the purple for the lily pads and the water lily flowers. Yeah, so I will continue to flip them and turn them inside out and try to get an even speckling throughout the skein. I actually don't want the speckles to be like evenly distributed everywhere as you're knitting or crocheting, but I do want all of the yarn to have speckles, if that makes any sense. So yeah, will continue to do that a number of times before it is finished. And then I will add more water to the pot again, or vinegar water to the pot again, and make sure everything is set nicely. And then wash it, and then hang it out to dry. So that's what's next. Alright, something that has been kind of fun for me, that I think I'll put a picture up here, is that I have started putting pins on a map of the United States. My husband got me like a wall map, and I started putting pins in there for where my yarn travels, which has been really, really kind of cool to watch and see where the majority of the yarn goes and what states haven't been, my yarn hasn't been sent to yet, and you know, when I get a new state, it's always exciting. So my kids have helped me, so it's a great geography thing. So that's been really cool, and I'll put a picture of that up here. I find it interesting that, and it makes sense. So on the East Coast, like New York City area, and then all the way on the West Coast, like I guess San Francisco maybe. That's like where the most pins are in like the same area, and it makes sense since those are like heavily populated areas. But I do find it cool that I've sold yarn, you know, like in Texas and Florida, as well as up north. It's not just like a cold region thing. Everywhere gets, you know, seasons in the U.S., and everybody likes to knit no matter where you are. I even have some in Hawaii, which is super cool, and Alaska, which they need all the warmth they can get up there. So yeah, I find it really neat, and hopefully you guys will too. If you noticed on it, there's different colored pins, and so loosely I've tried to match the colorways I'm sending with the color of the pin. And like the yellow ones, they do stand out, and they represent Starry Night, the Van Gogh Starry Night colorway, and so you can really see where those have gone, and that one's been fairly popular, so pretty cool. Thank you guys for ordering from all over the country. It gives me a thrill every time I send it, especially to someplace new. Or a repeat one is also super cool, so thank you guys. Alright, this is all of the beautiful yarn, and it's all dry now, and hopefully you guys can see in the camera the variation in the speckling and all the different little colors in there, the greens and the purples and little bits of yellow. Yeah, this is just a very beautiful and fun colorway to play with when you're knitting or crocheting or other yarn crafting. So hopefully that's showing up nicely in the camera. Can never really tell until I go and look at it on the computer. But, yay! So I will have 10 in the DK weight, which is brand new for me, and then I have 5 more in the fingering weight to add to the shop. And you can tell that it does speckle just a little bit different on thin yarn versus a thicker yarn. But it's actually quite similar on the DK compared to the fingering weight. So I just need to twist them up, and then they will be ready to go up in the shop and be sent home to you guys. So I use removable zip ties for to hold my yarn, which is nice because I can take it off and reuse it. And so you can see the variety in the skein, but I do have speckles everywhere. Some areas have a little more green and some have a little more purple, and then the blue is also a tonal blue. So you have light and dark in the water portion of water lilies. And I just use a door handle and a very fat wooden crochet hook, not crochet, knitting needle. And it works pretty well to twist it up. And I haven't gotten so large in my yarn business here that I need a automatic twister. So I just use my hands. It's all very hand done. And then there it is. All beautiful and fun. And at some point in time I will make up the plum purpley color boysenberry, so it's called. In a tonal boysenberry that in DK that you can also get because they marry up very nicely. The matcha colorway that I have would also go well with this. So I'm just going to finish winding these up, and then I'll be all done. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to check out my Etsy shop. Gabie's Knit Goodies on there. Thanks. So I've wound most of them up, and they're looking beautiful. These are all the DK ones, and so they're going to be up in the shop very soon.